From what I understand, with my grandfather and those guys, when they were married, the deal was, I go to the factory, I come home, I drop the check on the kitchen table, and I can go grab a beer and watch the game. Now, the burden of men as far as labor, I gotta, drop the check on the table. I gotta be a comedian. I gotta be emotionally available. I gotta take you to get crab legs. We gotta go to the Maldives once vacation twice a year out of the country. There's a lot more labor that modern men are doing that our fathers and grandfathers didn't do. So I just want to give a
Sir.
shout out to the men who are doing those things under stressful conditions and not filing. You guys are the real heroes.
Sir, let me go ahead and push back on your pushback really quickly before Nick jump in here. First of all, the reason why they just dropped the check off because your grandma ain't have no place to go. Your grandma had no options other than perhaps domestic labor and so forth, and maybe some secretary work if she was working, right? Because most Black women did work. But your grandma couldn't have a bank account. Your grandma couldn't get a house without her husband co-signing. So that's why they took the check and didn't have to do anything and go get a beer, kick up their feet, and watch football. So let's recognize that once you start having more women started having more rights to certain things, right? Having ability to get their own bank accounts, get their own whatever. That's why the labor somewhat changed, right? Versus just, hey, let me just drop this check off and keep it moving. It's because we couldn't get no goddamn bank accounts.
So how do we always come back to this throwback argument? My God, can we
Hey,
leave some of these? I mean, it's always, well, your grandmama, my grandpappy. Listen, man, they still here with you, enjoy their presence, okay? But let's not talk about the relationship we weren't there. Okay, I get what I mean. Let them be whatever they was. Okay, now I got to be honest. I can see a lot of truth in the statement and what you guys are saying, right? That the woman can be a big piece of shit for the man to be the one to file for divorce. But my question is rhetorical. If men are becoming, let's say, more emotionally intelligent, would it stand to reason that more men eventually would decide to file for divorce? Meaning that I think like this idea that yes, men have tolerated a lot, right? That we're willing to just be there. But I think there's a movement afoot that maybe more men are less tolerating bullshit, right? Like the more that you have this idea that you are the prize, I think the less likely that you are to accept bullshit. So I can see a man who thinks of himself highly enough, and as long as he doesn't have encumbrance like children, for example, can make the choice that, hey, you know what, I'm good on this, right? It doesn't mean that she's a piece of shit. I think what often happens is that women are not accountable. And so a man can try to have a conversation with her over and over, bumping his head, hoping to solve a problem, and it becomes something else. And instead of being accountable, she becomes offensive. And at some point in time, it's like, listen, I'm trying to come to you to solve this problem, but you're clearly not invested enough, or you're not invested in the context of us. Too many times, some of these relationships fracture because men wake up realizing that it's not an us thing. It's just me and you. I might be moving like it's an us because men have been conditioned to move in that kind of way. Because even if not we're providing and protecting, but just naturally speaking, a man is going to try to cover you. If he loves you, he's with you. So there's a certain level of responsibility that we tend to carry in a relationship that doesn't seem to always be in existence when women are in relationships. Right. And so for that reason, some of us, the stand up kind of a dude mentality, if we have a responsibility, we're going to try to keep it. Right. And so I think for a lot of reasons, what you guys are saying are right. But I do also think that there are other non-piece of shit reasons that you'll find that men will leave these marriages for, especially if there isn't kids involved, which brings me to my second point, right? Because to you guys mentioned this as well, that if the man leaves a relationship, he's often going to be left out of the home and not being able to be with his child. Right. And so, yes, men can fight for custody and stuff like that. But there's many reasons why guys will stay because it just practically makes sense. Like, I'm not totally happy here, but for me, it's not really about my happiness. It's about, hey, I can see my kid. I can be responsible. Yeah, maybe get some every now and then. If I want to get some on the side, I can. Like, guys make very practical decisions all the time, which brings me to another reason why I think this is probably true is because as much as we hate to say it, and yes, men are emotional, but I think men move in logic and practicality more often than women do. Right? Because I've seen way too many women, because of the emotional reaction to a situation, decide to leave the relationship, later regret it because there wasn't a point where she asked herself, yes, this man did this horrible thing, but like 98% of the time he was a great husband. Maybe we can work through this. right? And believe it or not, there are men who are staying even after cheating too. It's just that the perception isn't that, right? But there are men who are saying, hey, let's work it out. So I do think overall that there's merit to the idea that when men finally do decide to divorce, that, yeah, there's probably some credence and we're going to look at her a certain type of way, right? But I also think it's possible that there's going to be a point where this happily ever after thing is going to be a myth. It's going to be a thing that never existed for real, for real. Like people will just probably look at marriage as kind of being, hey, we did 10 years, it was great. We did 15, it was fantastic. Wow, 50, we did 20, right? And I think people are going to have to get used to that. And as men become more emotionally intelligent, recognize their value. That's one of the reasons why this whole men are the prize thing is dangerous for women. That's why women hate it. It's not because necessarily it's like, oh my God, we want to be the prize. No, it's that they recognize that if men up their value, then the little stronghold that they have or that they've had starts to get chipped away every step along the way. That's really the fear, just to bring it fully home, right, of the red pill, is that somehow men are going to wake up and realize you don't have as much leverage as you thought you did. You know what I'm saying? It's not especially for the ones that y'all want, because we can get the ones that we want. So yeah, I'm just pushing back slightly. Women don't have to be a piece of shit. Sometimes a man can just be aware enough that this is not for him. But a lot of times y'all are. And it's not because you're bad people. It's because you're bad listeners, right? You lack empathy. You lack accountability. It doesn't make you a piece of shit. It just causes you to show up like one in a relationship. And hopefully that makes sense.
So I would be remiss if I don't mention the one other time that men leave in relationships and it's completely selfish is men have a tendency to divorce their wives when their wives have chronic illness. It shows 1 in 5 men will divorce their wife if the wife is chronically ill or have a chronic illness. Whereas for women is 1 in 34, the woman is more likely to stay and support that husband through his illness and stay in that relationship. So that's the one other area.
Hold on, say again. So women are more likely to stay?
Right. In 1 in 34, if the husband is the one who is sick, the woman is more likely to stay and support her husband throughout his illness.
I know why.
Because she's waiting for that check. Go ahead and knock off.
Because even when he's sick, he is still expected to show up and drop off some team. Y'all.
No, I disagree. You're not gonna go that. No.
I got a cough. I can't give you no head. What did you mean, bitch? I like the extra spit. What are we talking?
No, we're not gonna go down that road with that. I just want to point out that's
you
another
point
way.
out S&M.
No, I'm saying that when I say not down that road, I'm talking about we're not gonna say it's because of sexual that she still wants the peen. Because technically, if we behave like some men, we can go get that peen somewhere else.
You didn't hear what I said. I'm saying, like, guys, let me know if I'm wrong on this, right? I can't recall ever a time where I've denied sex if my wife wanted it. That idea of denying sex in any way, shape, or form, it doesn't even really matter. She might be like, oh, he's sick, I ain't gonna give him some. But she kind of rub up on my leg a little bit, as Johnny go, look, I'm saying in those situations, we're more apt to be like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna do my manly duty because we feel, at least I feel some type of way about not being able to take care of it if my wife wanted it. What I'm saying is a lot of y'all may not feel that way. Y'all don't even got to be sick. Y'all have had other things pop up to where you're just not in the mood. So I'm saying while you're quoting that statistic about the sick thing, it is also possible that part of the chronic illness, it could be because y'all tend to use more reasons not to perform your wifely duties than a man would when it comes to his. That's what I'm saying.
Lord have mercy. And
yeah, I mean, our only reasons are like, pneumonia and gunshot wounds.
And even then,
stabbed.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, even then, if you stab me in the leg, I might be okay.
Throw some cocaine on
so
it.
cancer, leukemia, all that good stuff, y'all good. Y'all gonna be
we
satisfying your wife.
Just patch me up.
Yeah, we got it.
We got work. I mean, if my dick's gonna work.
Wait,
my blood is still flowing. I'm in business. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
My heart's
Put
pumping.
a tourniquet on it.